The parliamentary program will take a break until November, halting a number of high-profile matters and legislative oversight duties. Among them, Western Cape Judge President John Tlhophe's impeachment and the constitutional amendment to allow for land expropriation without compensation. It comes after the Constitutional Court dismissed the IEC's application to delay the 2021 municipal elections. Well, for more on how Parliament's work will be affected, we're joined by Deputy Speaker National Lechesa Tsenoli. National Tsenoli, good evening to you, and thank you so much for your time tonight. Firstly, you know, it doesn't make sense for the bulk of the period where we've been affected by COVID-19. Of course, a lot of the work of Parliament has been delayed because there's just been so much in terms of trying to get systems up and running. And we're finally there, and now is another break. Is it really justified?
Kathy, we are in a political environment. These matters that we do, the decisions of the court, for example, was confirming, in a sense, the original plan, but on assessment and evaluation by the special team that the IEC requested. Those recommendations came when already decision had been made to take a break, as we usually do during local government elections. This is an important, they are national elections, although they are local government, but all 14 political parties in the country recognize and they demand that they be with people to be able to take part in those elections. They are an important part of the process that we deal with. There are matters that are critical that will be dealt with this week. For example, including on the Section 25 that you speak about, for example. What will not be done is a debate. The report itself, we are informed, will be tabled so that it is recorded and it becomes a public matter. And the Justice Tlhophe matter, the committee will receive a legal opinion this week about how and what needs to be done so that we are on the dot on every step that requires to be done. There's work that's been done by committees. A few of the committees had already scheduled certain things that the Constitutional Court made deadlines. Those matters will be dealt with, and we hope that by agreement with all political parties, we will be able to deal with those issues now. You are right, there are things that we will not be able to do now, but we have placed them in the program at a later time. And we did anticipate the possibility of this happening, so that in the planning that we were doing, we're looking at scenarios. If the court agrees with the IEC, what will be the implications? If it doesn't, what will be the implications? This is why we were so quick to be able to place on the agenda for the programming committee options of how we could then reorganize what would otherwise have been a break anyway for purposes of political canvassing. It's an important process in the country. People must exercise their right to canvass and to seek support in every municipality in the country. We shouldn't underestimate the value of that against what you correctly call parliamentary work. The two are related very dynamically.
Let's talk about the medium-term budget policy statement and the work that oversight committees need to do in that regard before, the different budgets can be fully adopted. Where does this break leave that work?
Already in the program that has been published, it's probably available for details. They will be dealt with. The budget review recommendations have to be done before that, and the dates have been organized such that we will be able to deal with those matters. In fact, in our designing the program, those are things about which we were mindful because they are statutory requirements. In other words, that before an adjustment budget is tabled, certain things should have been done so that the minister and his team are able to reply in the course of their tabling, their adjustment, and so on. So they have been designed so that they will be done before that vote is tabled.
Of course, we then are left with about a week for part of the work in terms of reviewing this is concerned. And there are questions about whether or not that is sufficient time to put those budgets through the necessary scrutiny.
No. Those will not be done this week, Kathy. They will be done later, but in advance of the adoption of the October, the usual October budget adjustment. So they will be handled before that, so that there is time for them to be looked at. Already, many of the committees had already finished their reports, recommendations. It was merely for tabling them for debate in the House. And the remaining ones are still going to be handled in the committees. That's where scrutiny is taking place. So what we will give committees a chance later on is for them to complete that process and bring it before the House for debate and so on. The actual scrutiny is done and is being completed in the time frames that we have arranged for them to be presented before the end of the year and before the adjustment vote is presented.
It's going to be a rocky road to the local government elections. Does this decision to take a break now also indicate the fact that Parliament is certain that it will not be needed for anything in as far as input to the current election cycle is concerned?
Well, Kathy, should any matter arise that require Parliament to sit in session, that is always something about which we are ready. And we don't assume there will be such a thing. And but what it means is that our evaluation of what's outstanding, what needs to be done urgently, legislation, for example, that must be completed so that it is sent to the president for assent and so on. Those things, we have lined them appropriate. And we have said that there are committees, as I said, which the Constitutional Court said, you have to complete the following amendment of the legislation and or introduction of legislation before this period ends. And those will be done so that we comply with the Constitutional Court. We try to keep our relationship good as much as we possibly can, given the time frames, and those are the ones that we prioritize in the first place. So any urgent matters, Kathy, should the situation arise, we think we would be in a position to call members to come. We hardly ever have to do that.
Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly Lechesa Tsenoli, let's leave it there for tonight.